Welcome to World News by Denis Halandzovskyi. If you value clear, balanced, and timely international reporting, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share your perspective. Independent coverage matters, especially when global security is at stake. Today, we look at a developing diplomatic story. European leaders are publicly responding to former US President Donald Trump's recent remarks about Ukraine, asserting that their support remains firm even as Washington debates its future role. In recent statements, Donald Trump questioned whether continued support for Ukraine should remain a priority for the United States, suggesting that European nations need to take on a larger share of the burden. These comments sent ripples through diplomatic circles, prompting swift and forceful responses from key capitals across Europe. European leaders chose not to sidestep the issue. Heads of government and foreign ministers reaffirmed that Ukraine's defense against Russian aggression is not merely a regional matter, but a core interest for the security of the entire continent. They emphasized that a united Western front, anchored by shared democratic values and commitments, remains vital. Public statements from Berlin, Paris, and other capitals underscored frustration with what some described as uncertainty in Washington. For many leaders, the risk is not solely about policy differences. It is about credibility and trust. Europe's security framework, particularly within NATO, relies on the predictability and reliability of collective defense commitments. Any suggestion that these commitments might waver carries real strategic implications. According to officials in Brussels, the intention was clear. The alliance must project cohesion and solidarity in both word and deed. Their rejection of Trump's words has been firm but measured, focusing on continuity rather than confrontation. In diplomatic terms, this is significant. It illustrates that Europe sees Ukrainian security as part of its own strategic future, not simply as an issue contingent on American domestic politics. The public tone has been noteworthy. Rather than issuing vague reassurances, several leaders reiterated specific actions, continued military assistance, coordinated sanctions on Russia, and long-term plans for Ukraine's eventual recovery. These responses reflect deep concern that wavering support could embolden Moscow, weaken deterrence, and embitter allied relations. In national capitals, commentators highlighted another key message. Europe must remain resilient even if US foreign policy conversations shift with electoral cycles. As one official in Paris put it, our commitment to Ukraine is rooted in principle, not convenience. The diplomacy unfolding now has implications beyond the immediate statements. First, it touches on the broader strategic relationship between Europe and the United States. Transatlantic cooperation has historically been a pillar of global security, but when public leaders signal potential divergence, even rhetorically, it tests the strength of that cooperation. European policymakers are keenly aware that Russia continues to wage a long and brutal campaign against Ukraine, with no indications of de-escalation. From their perspective, maintaining support is not just about defending a neighboring democracy. It is about preventing further destabilization in Europe and deterring future aggression. Should Western unity fracture, the risks are far greater than the war in Ukraine alone. The firm pushback also sends a message to Moscow. Russia has long sought ways to drive wedges between Western allies. Public disagreements over policy direction are precisely the kind of divisions it hopes to exploit. European leaders understand that showing a united front, even in the face of provocative remarks, is vital to counter such strategies. Second, the debate raises questions about burden sharing. European nations have dramatically increased defense spending, sharpened logistical cooperation, and committed to long-term support for Ukraine. However, this has not meant abandoning the need for continued American engagement. Rather, European leaders stress that transatlantic partnership must evolve, with all parties contributing their share. For Ukraine, these diplomatic exchanges are not academic. Kyiv relies on consistent military aid and political backing to sustain its defense and plan for post-war recovery. If support falters or becomes unpredictable, it could slow progress on the battlefield and weaken deterrence at a moment when coordinated international pressure matters most. Furthermore, the issue plays into broader debates about the future of NATO, collective security, and the role of democratic alliances in a world facing resurgent authoritarianism. European insistence on continued support for Ukraine reflects a belief that strategic decisions should extend beyond short electoral cycles and be rooted in enduring principles of peace and security. As Europe responds to Trump's statements, three themes have emerged: unity, long-term commitment, and the recognition that support for Ukraine is integral to European and global stability. Whether these diplomatic efforts can reinforce resolve in Washington remains an open question, but the European message is unmistakable. In the face of aggression, solidarity must prevail. Thank you for watching this report on world news by Denis Halandzovskyi. If you found this analysis useful, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share your thoughts. Your engagement helps bring thoughtful, independent reporting to a wider audience. Stay informed, and see you in the next update.